Hi, I'm Mark Mederski with the National Motorcycle Museum, and we created a new exhibition called Motorcycles at Work. And I'm going to do a little tour through here, and I'm not going to talk about all the bikes, but we'll highlight a few of the interesting ones. This is the oldest motorcycle in the exhibition, and it's actually the oldest police Harley Davidson known to exist. It's a 1909, and it was used by the La Crosse, Wisconsin Police Department. The most interesting thing about it is that very few people knew it, but Harley Davidson was actually producing a machine specifically for police use. These pinstripes trace up around here and just leave a nice little window for the local sign painter to paint in the name of the city that was using the police machine. It's really great to be able to borrow, real in-service motorcycles for exhibitions like this. This one came from the Maquoketa, Iowa Police Department, and it still has the little book of tickets in here, right in a little special pocket. All the police equipment's in place. Runs a 6-volt battery that's in the back. This is a 1963 Harley Davidson Servi-car. This is a machine that Harley started making in the 30s, and it was almost always a flathead motorcycle. As we know, the Indian Motorcycle Company was based in Springfield, Massachusetts, and the story goes that a Packard dealer in Springfield actually walked into the to the factory and said, something I need is a machine that I can tow behind a customer's car, ride out to where the customer lives, hook it on the back of their car, and drag the whole works back to the dealership and do the service work on it. So with that, this dispatch tow was formed. And this apparatus on the front here is part of what actually connected down to the bumper on the automobile and allowed it to be towed behind. It's very similar to the Harley Davidson Servi-car. They both serve the same function, but the history books tell us that Harley Davidson invented their machine about 1 year after the Indian came about. So the Indian was first on the street with these 3-wheel Servi-car machines. Earlier we were talking about a machine called the dispatch tow that Indian started making in 1936. Further to their interest in developing really specialized machines for delivery, this is a mechanical drawing. It says up here, suggested design for traffic car body. So that's what Indian was calling their most sophisticated, most enclosed motorcycle, was a traffic car. So this drawing would go down the road to a Coachworks, which made auto bodies or truck bodies. And in this case, it's kind of a prescription for the Indian traffic car, the biggest, heaviest, most enclosed motorcycle in this exhibition. So here's an example of an Indian traffic car. And this particular one was made in 1939. And what's really special about it is these are Indian's World's Fair colors for that year. This silver and blue with the gold pinstripe, the big Indian head on the fuel tank, was unique to 1939. Very elaborate paint scheme, really beautiful. And this particular machine is a traffic car, just like we looked at in the drawing. And in all of my travels, I've only heard that about 3 of these machines exist, and this one again is original paint. It's a little beat up, but it's 70 years old, and really an interesting machine. You can see that the rider is actually completely covered underneath this canopy, kind of tucked in there. It's got a couple of interesting little portholes so he can see to the rear. Does not have rear view mirrors out here or anything like that would let him see past. And essentially this is about 90% of an Indian chief from that era, but it's got this special frame, these big C-channel frame rails that go back and allow the body to be attached to the motorcycle frame. So the rigid Indian chief frame is still there within all that coachwork. And again, you can see coachwork that's very similar to what would have been used in trucks and automobiles. They would build up, a steel chassis, and then most of the vertical frame members were wood, probably white oak, really strong wood. And a lot of this coachwork here is bent steel that's brought around, welded and leaded at the corners, and it's got a fabric roof. So again, you can see a lot of similarities with a sedan that was built in that time. This particular machine, again, original paint, is from the Norman Bent Cycle Shop, bicycle and motorcycle shop in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Taking a look at our next bike in the Motorcycles at Work exhibition, we've got a 1941 Harley Davidson WL. This This is a 45 cubic inch machine, and attached to it is a Goulding sidecar, but this is the truck box setup that Goulding made. Goulding was famous for their sidecars. Most of them had a bullet kind of a shape in the front end, kind of a Buck Rogers looking design. This particular one is, again, like our exhibit is telling the story, is for service. You could put tools in here, you could put packages in here that you were delivering for a company. So this extends the use of a traditional Harley 45 to act as a very functional motorcycle. We're at the National Motorcycle Museum looking at the new Motorcycles at Work exhibition, and now we're in the section that talks about the military use for motorcycles. Motorcycles played a role in World War I and World War II and some of the skirmishes in between, and the motorcycle manufacturers in America were keen to try and supply the military with motorcycles because, of course, it's another source of revenue for them. The government invited Harley Davidson and Indian, about the time World War II broke out, to try and come up with their own designs for a good motorcycle to be used in the war effort in Europe. And one of the problems that the manufacturers faced was dealing with the sand in North Africa. The early battles in World War II were fought in North Africa, so shaft drive was a natural solution to that because you've got an enclosed drive system as opposed to an open roller chain and sprockets. Harley-Davidson chose, if you'll excuse me, to essentially copy one of the German brands, BMW, with their design, which is a boxer twin with shaft drive. Indian took another route and used their chief engine, essentially, turned it sideways in the frame, but had to design an entirely new transmission system to carry the power from the chief engine to the rear wheel. This is called an 841. This machine, about 1,000 of these were made, and the books essentially say that only about 50 of them saw service. And this was an era when Indian was really having some problems. They put all their effort into the war and making motorcycles for the war effort, which of course is really good and patriotic, but in that same moment they were abandoning their dealers, not supplying them with new machines, not supplying parts so that they could support their current customers. And after World War II, Indian was really getting on the ropes. The next motorcycle up is Harley-Davidson's answer to the question, what can American motorcycle manufacturers produce that the Army can use in war and other conflicts? This is a 1942 Harley-Davidson WLA. And unlike Indian, Harley-Davidson took the route of essentially taking one of their production machines, the Harley 45, and adapting it for use by the military. It's got the special hoods on the lights so that they can run at night without being detected as much. Special air cleaner system, the saddlebags, luggage rack, certainly the Thompson machine gun mounted on the front here. So this was a lot quicker way for the manufacturer, Harley-Davidson, to gear up and satisfy the needs of the American military. This particular bike is owned by collector Bruce Ledensday, and we're really happy to have it here. One of the things about exhibitions that we do here at the museum is we always count on collectors that have just what we need to tell a story to loan their motorcycles to us for display. This machine will be here for about a year for this Motorcycles at Work exhibition, and then it'll go back to Bruce so he can continue to appreciate it in Ohio. But we give it a nice audience here at the museum, and it helps us tell the story of what motorcycles do besides just serve as recreation or racing machines. This machine started life as a Kawasaki KLR650, but it's been heavily modified by a company in California called Hayes Diversified Technology. The military has been trying to unify the fuel sources that it uses for its trucks, aircraft, and in this case motorcycles. Believe it or not, this is a diesel motorcycle. The KLR650 engine is heavily modified. The crankshaft and piston and cylinder and all that is completely different than the production machine. But here's a great example of a brand new machine. This is currently used in the military. It runs on diesel fuel, just like one of those big military trucks or the tanks or any other military devices. The next machine we're going to look at is a 1936 Harley Davidson GD, and this to me is one of the most gorgeous motorcycles in the exhibit, in cream and blue with red pinstripes, Harley Davidson logo. It's fully restored by a guy named Bill Rodenkow at the Harley Davidson Museum up in Milwaukee, and this is part of the permanent collection at the Harley Davidson Museum, and we're proud to have it here on loan for a year to support this exhibition, Motorcycles at Work. Perfect example of the Harley Davidson delivery machine, Servi-car. So we've just looked over a few of the motorcycles in the new exhibit at the National Motorcycle Museum entitled Motorcycles at Work. There's a lot more to look at, machines from Germany and Britain, Triumphs, BSAs, BMWs, and more. So we hope you'll come on down. This exhibit will only be here for 1 year. National Motorcycle Museum's open every day. It's in Anamosa, Iowa, not too far from major metro areas like Chicago, St. Paul, Indianapolis. We've got great stuff here, 320 motorcycles, lots of art. People tell us they love all the detail items, the memorabilia here. You'll have a great time. Even if some of your friends that you're thinking about bringing along are not hardcore motorcycle enthusiasts, there's wonderful other kinds of objects here. If you're any kind of a history buff or if you love art, this is a great stop. The National Motorcycle Museum in Anamosa, Iowa. We hope you'll come out soon.